Let's get to ask a hand. I present to you our first speaker for today, Fernando.
Thank you. It's okay. Okay, first of all, thank you everyone for coming to this presentation. I'm going to talk about distributed monitoring for web applications. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Cordoba, Argentina. I'm a system administrator, mostly with Linux systems. I've been working last 7 years in IT companies. Since April 2011, working in Intel IT in our center in Cordoba. Happily married with Jessica and father of Benjamin. Just a little tip for this presentation. We would like to just cover the solution achieved instead of talking about vendors or something like that. Of course, all products used here are open source, and we would like to show how IT at Intel use these best practices. The agenda for this presentation is just talk about the problem overview that we had, the distributed infrastructure that we are put in place, the failover solution, a little bit about the WebInject infrastructure, and how can we integrate some API feeds to our monitoring solution. Later, we can talk about the multi-checks that we are doing from several places, and some integration that we did with different kind of notifications like SMS or voice over IP. Why do we need a distributed infrastructure? Okay, our customers has more than 500 service checks, and we have many of them. Also, we have requirements from our customers to reach their application from several geos, like South America, Asia, Europe, and US. All checks are every 1 or 5 minutes, and we need to have some kind of redundancy or fast recovery. Why do we need a centralized dashboard? Well, we need to, as we have many customers for this solution, we need to have some kind of ACLs, so each customer can only see their own services and their own host. Also, we need to have a fast and simple services, common hand host, adds, updates, and removal. With Nagios Core only, you can't do like a fast update or removal of some services or configurations. And also, we use MySQL Store performance data for external BI solutions. What this distributed infrastructure means. Okay, as you can see here, we have dashboard, and we can have many Nagios Core distributed all around the world, and also have some different external monitoring providers that can be also seen on this central dashboard. How can we use to have the distributed Nagios? Well, we use the NDO 2DB and NDO mod. It's quite simple to configure. Just you need to, on each region, install a Nagios. Put the server type and DB host for each of them. In the central Nagios, you have the NDO2DB going to the central MySQL. This is a simple kind of distributed infrastructure without failover. I will show you later the failover that we are using. How quite simple is to enable a new distributed node? Okay, just you need to install. We are using VMs for all the Nagios. So you have to install a VM with the latest Nagios an RPE or an NDO mod code. Just set up SSH without password out for Nagios user and add some sudo rights so the remote Nagios, so the central Nagios can restart the remote Nagios. How to enable? Okay, just create a new puller, create a new nagios.cfg, config for that puller, create a new NDO mode config for that puller, and enable the service check that you need on that puller. As it says here, all of this could be automated with Chef or Puppet. How do you see the pullers on the central Nagios? Okay. As you see here, you have all the distributed nodes with the IP address and if it is running or not, what's the process ID of each remote Nagios, the start time on last update, and the Nagios version here. How can you see the remote service or checks in the dashboard? Okay. You see here the host and all services that this host has and the status of this. How can we have the distributed with failover? Okay. In this case, what we have is this central Nagios, as I showed before, and the distributed Nagios across the world. We use a load balanced IP or a URL where the main dashboard is reaching to. And if and we use MySQL replication master here from this central to the failover, and we are setting a cron job that copies Nagios config files and the script files or service script files from master to failover every 5 minutes. What this means? Okay, if this master goes down, this failover takes place, and this dotted line becomes a firm line, and all requests that going from the main dashboard are going to this failover, and also the distributed nodes sends data to this one. We put some scripts that are checking every 1 minute the status of the master Nagios. What we did here is check if Apache is running on the failover, if Nagios is running on the failover, because we need to stop also Nagios and the Apache on the failover, so this load balancer also hits this master. So in the failover, you need to check that not even Nagios or Apache is running. Oh, I said the master side, sorry. The failover is when we are checking if the Nagios and the master is running with this check Nagios failover nrpe command. And we are checking if the Apache and Nagios is not running. If we found that the Nagios is not running on master, what we do is just start the Apache, start the Nagios, and send a notification that the Nagios master seems to be down. If the master is OK, we just, as I said, stop Apache and stop the Nagios. OK. Do you have any questions so far about the distributed monitoring infrastructure? Yeah?
So your load balancing setup, you basically have both of those. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have your primary and your failover both configured in your load balancer active?
No, that's the reason. We are just, as I said here, this load balancer could be a Amazon ELB or HA failover, Heartbeat. So what you're doing here is just check that Apache is running, and if Apache is running here, all requests are coming to the master. If Apache is not running here, the master script, it says, okay, if Apache is not running, just kill Nagios. And if Nagios is not running, the failover will take place and will start the Apache on this one, and all requests are coming to
So
this
your
one.
load balancer is basically configured to send to either one, whichever one has Apache running at any given time?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Okay. Yeah?
MySQL replication, or you're using like a DRBD cluster, or
We're using master MySQL replication.
okay. All right. I just don't. Since the last time I worked with MySQL, it was more of a master slave, right? So
Yeah,
it's-
in this case,
they
in this
changed
case,
that?
we're using master because if this node comes again, you need to have all the data information that was stored here while this master wasn't alive. So you need all data that is here for a while. I don't know how long, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 days, I don't know, and replicate it again to this, because this is a master. We are not promoting this slave as master forever. Just as a failover node that will come a slave later.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. What about web application monitoring? So far, we knew a couple of years ago, we just can monitor, for example, with a TCP check that Apache is running, DB connection doing some kind of port check or a DB transaction. As you can see, this white hole is the part of the application that we are not monitoring. So what we did is to use a tool that can allow us to get the HTTP response code, make some kind of positive validation, parsing response, negative validation. And of course, we know that many of the holes are being covered, but we know that could be some kind of little white spaces that are not covered yet. What we use WebInject. There is a free tool for automated testing of web applications and web services. How it works? Well, you have the WebInject engine that has a config file that calls a test case file and do some kind of logic for the web application's response. And what you receive after a check, you receive an OK or critical status. How to install? Well, you can install from cpan per library, just use install WebInject, or you can download latest version code of Console Lab, that is the company that is developing the latest code of WebInject. How's the architecture of the WebInject? As I said, you have the config file. You have test cases that you can have many of them with using the same config file. It saves the data that you receive in an HTTP log, and it sends some requests, and you receive some responses. You have different kind of report type. Here is the Nagios report type that shows only OK or critical and the time that you're spending to send and receive that request. You can use the proxy for if you are behind some kind of proxy, and you can set the user agent and the timeout for this for all the test cases that will be using this config file. This test case file is optional. You can just not use this line and use the config file for all the test cases that you want. How is the test case file model? Well, what you have here is a common test case that is an XML format. You have case number 1 that you can put the description, the URL where the test is going through, the method that you're using, and the post body that you're sending to. Here you can parse the response that you're receiving and verify positive if what you're receiving is what you're expecting for the validation of the test case. Also, with WebInject, what you can do is have many cases inside a test case, and you can combine these 2 cases. For example, in this case, what we are using is we are parsing response, that the method that we are receiving after sending this test, and we are using this parsed result here for making the post again and see if we are having a approved transaction. How can we integrate WebInject and Nagios? Well, you just have to create the command. It's pretty simple. Just call, well, where is the WebInject file, and you can add some kind of arguments. In this case, what we are using is this arg1 is all the variables that the WebInject can receive, and -c is the config file that you are going to use. How can we, this is the service definition. You have the host, service, all the common stuff, and here is the check command, this WebInject, that we are sending the -s base URL 1 equal URL. This base URL 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and whatever are the variables that you can send to the WebInject. And you're using the config file.xml. How can we integrate some kind of external monitoring solutions? For example, Pingdom or CompuWare. Well, both of those or others have some kind of API. So with WebInject, what you can do is just hit the API and ask for the test result for some time. In this case, what we are using is just open data feed, get response, and close data feed. And if we receive some kind of critical, we just put the service in critical and with an exit 2. If not, just put the response that we're receiving and with an exit 0, that is the OK. How are we using the multi-check? Well, the thing is here, in a centralized dashboard, you need to see how all tests on different regions are coming through. So it's worthless if you have just one check from Europe and another from South America, and it's failing only from South America. You need to know, or in our case at least, we need to know how all of these tests are going through, and we need to set some threshold. For example, if check from South America is not good, okay, we can live with it. But we don't want to receive alarms when only one region is down. So what we did is just create a script that is using multi-check script with an RPE from different regions. So you can have the same service check from different regions, and all of this in one centralized service. How it works? Well, we use a bash script that we'll show you later to execute the test, and we put here the threshold for this this test, that what it's doing is just calling an NRPE command and executing the WebInject remotely. Basically, this is the script that we are using. This is the check multi that you have to say what's the config file that you're using, and these are the tests that you want to send to this multi-check script with WebInject. And you can set the timeout for any of these tests, and the capital T is for all the script. This is the command script that you have on the central dashboard, the central Nagios, where what we are doing is just setting the command. What we are using is check NRPE, the host, different hosts for each command, the same command of NRPE, and the arguments for this command. And for the threshold, what we said is, okay, for critical, we need to count critical 3 or more, warning. If all of these tests are giving me warning, just put on critical. And if all are unknown, just put on critical. Put on warning if are more than one warning, more than one critical, or more than one unknown. It's pretty simple to configure this. How can you see the service status in the central dashboard? Well, here you can, I don't know if you can see, it's pretty small, right? But here are the different locations where we are executing this test, and the time that it is taken on each location, and the status of this multi-check. What about additional notifications? What we try to do is to get more kind of notification, because sometimes email is not enough. And what we did was to enable an SMS notification with an external company that we're just using a wget and using the contact pager to send the message, and the notification type, the service description, service state, and how long it is service with issues. These notifications are coming from the central dashboard or from the distributed ones. Same with VoIP. We are using text-to-wave in order to create a file that WAP, and we're using PJS UA for calling the contact, and of course this could be done from Nagios, central Nagios, or from the distributed ones. This is how it looks, our complete distributed monitoring solution. As I said, you have the external providers that you can set up as checks. You have the multi-check services for each service. And you can have this service also in the specific region, where all of these regions can make the notifications, and also can you can see all these checks in the main dashboard. And you have also the failover that is behind in order to take place whenever the master is down. Just some question. I would like to hear some questions, because maybe I don't know if you got lost in some place, but I'm here to discuss a little bit.
Cool. So just back to WebInject itself. So I saw that you were downloaded WebInject from CPAN, and it's a Perl script, or it's a collection Perl library. And then I saw you set it up as a command in Nagios. But I didn't see, like, you didn't have to have anything that wraps it, that returns Nagios error codes at that point. Like, it's the WebInject script is, like, you know, so it's a warning or critical
WebInject,
or unknown.
what it does is just reply you critical or OK. What you can do is to wrap a bash script in order to, okay, if WebInject is giving me this word, do an exit code. Like.
So when you defined the WebInject.pl command, that was a Perl script that was a wrapper for WebInject to parse and return those WebInject error codes as Nagios.
I just showed the normal or simple WebInject command.
Okay.
But you can do whatever you want with a bash script, Perl script, or whatever, and call the WebInject and execute this and use some arguments. I mean, you can define not the WebInject itself, just a bash script and passing arguments and, well.
All right. Sorry, I have two more questions.
Yeah, sure.
Performance data. Are you returning, are you sending performance data to something like PNP for Nagios? Yeah,
you can. If you're just using the one check, you're going to receive executed in 10 seconds.
So just, and again, interpret that using
and you can use that for graphing or whatever. Yeah. And also, if you're using the multi-check script, you will receive total execution time for that multi-check script, and also for each of any of them, the time that you're executing.
Okay. And I saw in your WebInject config file you were using like Mozilla engine. Like, how does it actually work? Like, I'm a little bit familiar with Selenium, and it's actually running Firefox somewhere, like on a Windows box or in an X Windows, to like actually go to the site just as a user would. How is WebInject doing that? Is it calling a browser? Like, how does it actually browse the site?
It's like a wget or like
a curl.
Curl. Yeah, it's something like that. I didn't go so further on the WebInject code, but looks similar like that.
Okay. Can you use? Do you know if you can use like client certificates if you're you have a web app?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We're using for MTLS.
Okay.
And it's quite simple to configure.
And that goes in the WebInject.
You have to put in the. Well, we did some tweak, and then WebInject code that it's as it is a Perl script. You can just use SSL verify hostname no, or SSL use certificate file, and you can put the certificate.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
For MTLS we're using that.
Okay. And would you consider by chance sharing your scripts that you use, like in the community exchange or whatever?
This presentation is free for use, and I can. It is not any secret, but I can share the lines that I've used for the MTLS solution.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, first off, I think if I understood what you were asking, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the Mozilla thing, that's just the user agent string, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not saying connect using the Mozilla engine. It's always
just
using
an agent
WebInject.
For identify, yeah.
It's saying when I connect, website, I'm Mozilla.
Yeah,
or you can flip that, say I'm Internet Explorer or I'm Chrome or whatever user agent string
or
you want to
WebInject.
provide.
You can put wherever you want.
You can provide your own name, but that'll probably break. But I wanted to ask you, where you're using check multi to run, say, 4 different web checks and eval based on the number of critical warnings, did you test check cluster within Nagios and decide to go with check multi?
No, I didn't.
Just went straight with check multi?
Okay.
Okay. I was just curious. I don't know if either one has advantages or disadvantages compared to the other.
Yeah, I found this as a good solution for our needs, but I've been talking with someone yesterday about how can we monitor, for example, CPU, memory, disk, and Google.com. Okay, you can do with this, and you can also set, okay, if test number 3 is failing, just okay, give me a warning.
Yeah, you can get more customization with your own script that way.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Right.
Any additional questions?
It's okay.
How about a nice big round of applause one more time for Fernando?
Thank you. Thank you very much.